Did you know that the best athletes not only prioritize their physical health, their commitment to their team, but they also focus on the mental and stress aspects of their game? Hey, I'm Adam with the Pursuit Counseling. As a person who's always been an athlete, whether that's performing at a high level in team sports or individual pursuits such as bodybuilding, training for marathons, I have always been involved in performing at sports at a very high level. As a professional counselor, I've worked with many professional athletes, collegiate athletes, and high school or travel team athletes. And a lot of what we work on in the professional counseling room is making sure that their minds are focused on their goals. Mental health is a crucial component of athletic performance. There's demands in sports that include focus, stress management, resilience, and these things can be challenging in addition to the physical demands of the sports. When you're in high school, you're trying to work toward getting that collegiate scholarship. When you're in college, you're working to maintain that scholarship or achieve the opportunity to start for your team. And ultimately, your goal is to play at the professional level. And the demands for that to happen are immense. In college and high school, not only are you having to study for the classes that you're taking, but you're also having to study your playbook. You're having to study your schedule, study your opponents, and you're having to figure out what you need to do to be successful. This pressure that you're under can lead to anxiety, burnout, and decline in performance if you're not managing it effectively. Recently, I was watching television and a commercial came up for a car company, and the entire commercial was focused on that drive to and from practice and parents seeing the burden, the stress that their student athletes were under. And they were talking about the opportunity of pivoting, pressing pause, quitting in order for their student to be able to find what they're passionate about. And for a lot of the kids in that commercial, they were elementary school age and they're feeling burned out. They're feeling stressed. They're feeling pressure of not only making sure that they're great, but that they're winning the approval of their parents and coaches and teammates. And for students to be that young and feeling that amount of pressure is really not healthy for them in the long term. I hear from a lot of very successful athletes that the idea of specializing in a sport, whether they're in middle school or even high school, is not a realistic opportunity for their long-term growth and success. In baseball, we talk a lot about how every pitch is a competitive pitch. And if there's no off season, if you're playing travel ball, winter ball, high school ball, AAU, uh, these championship teams where in the summer, in the winter, in the fall, you're playing in what they're calling World Series or showcases. That is a lot of burden to have on a student. I am not at all against students performing at a high level. After all, I was a student that had offers to play in college. When we're working with student athletes, stress management is one of our topics that we spend time on. We utilize stress management techniques such as deep breathing, visualization. In sports, it is so important to be able to visualize what you're looking to do. In basketball, if you're shooting free throws or you're shooting three pointers, being able to visualize what you're trying to achieve, making the basket is going to help you. Not every moment needs to be focused on that sport. You have to be a well balanced person between all of your commitments. Building resilience is also something that we work on with our clients. Did you know that most Hall of Fame baseball players fail 70% of the time? That's why when a student athlete has a batting average of 300, did you know that that means that they are actually failing 70% of the time? that means that only 30% of the time are they getting the result that they want. The most successful free throw shooters are shooting 80 to 90%. JJ Redick, one of my favorite basketball players, he was shooting in the 90% as a professional and collegiate athlete when he was at Duke. And he was the best free throw shooter when he was playing. And he still was failing 10% of the time, and he was the best. Shaq, I grew up in the '80s and '90s, and so Shaquille O'Neal, he was notorious for being the worst free throw shooter in the game of basketball, but he still made it 50% of the time. So we are going to fail when we're playing sports. And so the ability to become resilient and have perseverance when you're going through trials is important. If you are focused on missing instead of focusing on making whatever you're attempting, you're going to be at a disadvantage because the reality is that you're going to fail more often than not. So we do have to focus on what we're trying to do. Focus and concentration is also another area that we focus in on with our athletes because of cell phones, because of technology, because of Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever is popular right now, the attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And that is showing up in our athletes in the work that they're doing on and off the court and field. It's getting harder and harder for those athletes to maintain focus throughout the practice sessions, focusing throughout the games. The students want to go to their devices because they're looking for that dopamine fix instead of being focused on their practice, being focused on their training, and even being focused on the game. I mentioned a little bit earlier that failure is an essential part of the athlete's life. And as a result of that, the need for improving self confidence is a battle that has to be fought day after day after day. If we are used to failing, again, baseball, the Hall of Fame baseball players are successful only 30% of the time. And so it's really easy to lose self confidence. We do need to be working on our self confidence if we want to be successful. So, how does counseling come into the picture? We've talked about failure, we've talked about perseverance, we've talked about building confidence and the self esteem of the players. And working with a professional counselor is going to be essential if your student wants to get to that next level because their competition is focusing on building their self confidence with someone that is not their coach, someone that is not their parent. As a counselor, a lot of times I'm working with the athlete, but also I'm communicating with the coach on what's going to help that athlete be able to receive coaching, be able to receive feedback. Normalizing seeking help for the athlete is not going to make them feel different than their peers. Did you know that less than 5% of high school athletes actually make it to the next level? So the top athletes in each high school on each team, they're feeling more isolated because they are looking for that next level of going to college or becoming a professional athlete. So not feeling alone is an important part of the process of working with a professional counselor. I'm Adam Glendie with the Pursuit Counseling. We love working with athletes and helping them achieve their next level.